In the beginner's course, you'll recall that we learned how to create major scales. We learned that there was 12 notes in music and divided between 7 letters, and that we used our formula whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half to create major scales. So what we used them for, of course, was for songwriting and for working out the theory of key signatures. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to actually transpose one of those scales onto the guitar and start to play a scale. Scales are important for us as guitarists. What they do is they build up hand strength and dexterity and stamina in the left hand, and they get our right hand picking, of course, and then the coordination between the two, which is exactly what we want. We want to really improve our skills. So what you do is the more you practice the scales, the better you will become on the guitar and the quicker you will become as well. So what we want to do is we start practicing. This is the first one on top of the chromatic scale. Let's create the C major scale. Now we know the notes of a C major scale are C, D, E, F, G, A, B and C. We can work that out on paper in our theory, so what we want to do now is put it onto the guitar. So let's begin. If we've tuned our guitar correctly, then we've tuned the 6th string to an E note, the 5th string to an A note, the 4th string to a D note, the 3rd string to a G note, the 2nd string to a B note, and the 1st string to an E note. So what we want to do now is work out where a C is. So let's have a look at the 5th string. If that's an A, then we have a whole step between A and B, so that note there must be B, and then a half step between B and C is always the rule, so this is the C note here. So we have our first note now being C. So that's fine, that's our beginning note. The next note in the major scale is a D, so we've got two choices of D. We could go up a whole step here, or much rather I think we'll do the open D, which is the 4th string. So we've got the C and we've got the D. After that we have another whole step, so we'll go up to the E, so that's the open D back here of course, so that's one whole step is up to here for the E. Then we have a half step to the F note, which is just a half step is 1 fret of course to here. Then a whole step to G, so again we have two choices. We can come up to the 5th fret to that G there, although I think we'll play the G open, so we have this one here. Then we have a whole step between G and A, so this is A here on the 2nd fret. Then we have a whole step between A and B, so we could use that B here on the 4th fret, although I think we'll use the 2nd string open. And then we have a half step between B and C. So that's one octave of our scale. What we want to do though is keep going, because we've got notes above and below that will keep going, so let's keep working on it. So we've got a C again. The next note is a whole step away to D, so this is the D here on the 3rd fret 2nd string. Then we've got a whole step to E, so we could do the E up here on the 2nd string, but I think what we'll do is we'll do it open first. Then we've got a half step between E and F always, so here's the F on the 1st fret, and then a whole step between F and G. So if we were to ascend that scale now, starting from our low C note, we can go through like this. And that's ascending. So let's descend it now. Let's keep going back. So if we start from the end of the scale and go back, we know there's a half step between C and B, so back a half step is to the B note here, and then we have a whole step back from B to A, so a whole step is back to A on the open A, will be easiest. Then we've got a whole step from A to G, so this will be the G here on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. Then a whole step between F and G, so we'll go back to the F on the 1st fret, and then a half step between the F and E, so we'll do the 1st fret note on F, on the E note there. So going back, we can go all the way down to here. So we've basically filled up the first 3 frets of the guitar with a scale on all strings of the C major notes. So to play that scale, of course, we start on the lowest root note, which is the C. We then ascend to the highest note of the scale. And then we descend to the lowest note of the scale. So it's written out in tab for you of course, so you can understand what's going on, but also you must understand the rules of playing scales, where you start at the lowest root note, ascend to the highest note in the scale, descend to the lowest note in the scale, and then return to the lowest root note again. So the other rules of course is the evenly, smoothly, consistently and coordinated rules, which just makes common sense, and we've learnt them in the beginner's course as well. The other thing of course to note is that with the right hand we're doing the scales with a pick of course, and previously we always picked just with downstrokes. What I would like you to do now is alternate picking, where you pick down and up in unison there, and try and get the alternate picking so it becomes second nature to you, so you don't even have to think about the fact that you're alternate picking and that you're just doing it automatically. So let's play that scale one more time. Starting on the lowest root note, which is the C note down here on the 3rd fret, ascending to the highest note in the scale, which of course will be the G up here on the 1st string, descending to the lowest note of the scale then, which will be the E down here on the 6th string, and then returning to the lowest root note, C again. Now it must be played nicely, evenly, consistently, smoothly, and coordinated between the hands. Speed is not the issue, and it's not a concern. It's just literally the coordination and the fluidity of the scale that really makes all the difference to us. Anyway, here it is for you one more time. We have it, C major scale pattern number 1.